Hello computer gamers, this is Insomniac Andrew, or iAndrew, and we have From Dota to League. This episode, we're going to talk a little bit about IP, I guess, and stuff that's happening in the new patch, along with, of course, a couple champions, Olaf, and, I don't know, one of the other free-to-play ones. What was it? Whoops, no, that's not the right page. Olaf and Vayne, right? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, they're pretty cool. I like Vayne more, I guess. I'm not sure which one I'm better with, but it's not really a big deal either way. First off, IP. So, I want to pick up Ezreal, but I also need to get Kha'Zix. So, since Kha'Zix, like, I'm already like 200 past Ezreal, right? So I figure I only need 1300 more to Kha'Zix. So rather than having to wait an extra long time to get him, like, I feel like I could get him pretty soon if I just grind some more IP, and then, you know, next thing you know, I'll have Ezreal. I guess if I think about it, like, if I'd held off on purchasing Janna, I'd have Kha'Zix like right now, but then I guess I wouldn't have Janna. So, well, I don't know. I don't think I really like her. I mean, like, I think I'm better with Soraka, and I just came up with the new item build for Soraka. I think will do me quite well. Like, I was trying to build ability power on her, which wasn't really effective at all, even if you build lots of it. So instead, I've got, well, now this build is just experimental, this one here, but this one's pretty good. I built like most of the build already. Of course, it doesn't have 7 items, even though there's the trinket there. That's because I haven't figured out what the final item should be yet. So of course, Warmog's armor, that's kind of a given. It's really good on her. So there's that. And then, so magic penetration boots. The reason why I figure this makes sense is because she already does plenty of damage with her spells anyways, without the ability power scaling. If you wanted to do more damage, then just put in some penetration. It's going to be more effective, I figure, than building ability power. Anyway, it's nice for her to pack a punch, I guess is the point. So why not have some more magic penetration with Leandri's Torment? Now, and then this also gives me some additional health, so that's kind of nice. It does give me ability power, which, you know, is useful. It helps my skills scale, but that's not the primary reason I'm buying it. But it helps. And of course, it can kind of shred tanks a bit. The higher their health is, the more it'll hurt them, basically. And actually, because Soraka, both of her nukes, they impair the movement speed, that means it's going to be pretty easy to proc the bonus damage from Leandri's Torment, you know, being doubled. So, yeah, the extra bonus damage is really nice. Now, actually, I don't know why. Okay, Ruby Sightstone is like the least cost-effective item in the game, but regular Sightstone's great. So, but anyways, you know, I just figure, you know, eventually you're gonna have the Ruby Sightstone. You don't necessarily have to buy that right away. Like, I would probably buy Sightstone before I buy my penetration boots, and in some cases maybe even before my Warmog's armor. But I wouldn't upgrade to the Ruby Sightstone till the end. You know, try to find out an item to get besides the Trinity Force. So I'm already doing lots of magic damage between the laundries and the sorcerer's shoes and just my spells in general. I figure she might as well do some physical damage. And I think the most efficient way for her to do physical damage, since she doesn't attack fast normally, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for her to get like a Blade of the Ruined King, for example, I don't think. Plus that cares about what their current health is, and Leandri already does that anyways. Unless, of course, you're talking about the active. But anyway, I don't think there's a whole lot to be gained from building up Soraka's attack speed. Although, with that said, this still actually gives her 3/4 of the attack speed that Blade of the Ruined King would give her. So for an item slot, it's actually very efficient because it gives tons of physical damage. If you think about it, the single attack, with Spellblade and the regular attack, it's basically triple their base damage value. So take Soraka. At level 18, it'll be 101, which means that we're talking about 303 physical damage coming from Soraka when she hits you with this. And that's ignoring the 30 attack damage that's added on. So it's actually 333 attack damage just from these items. So not really, just from the Trinity Force. So that's pretty strong. It's not as strong as, like, say, Cho'Gath or whatever. He's got like 132 base damage at level 18, because then that comes out to like 396. That's almost 400 damage, plus the 30. That's like 426 or something like that damage from just that one item. That's crazy, just from one attack. So that's like really strong. So for her, it's about 100 less than the Cho'Gath, but it's still pretty good, I would say. Yeah, definitely nothing to joke around about. She does a lot more damage with the Trinity Force Spellblade than a lot of other champions do, actually. There's still a lot of champions that do more than her, of course, but as for ranged champions, she's definitely one of the highest. Anyways, so that way, she can do a healthy mix of damage. I feel like, personally, other than adding more magic penetration, there isn't any other way to up her damage. And of course, she can get some more magic penetration from the Abyssal Scepter, so that might be a pretty good 6th item, but I'm just not sure if that's really what I want. There's also the idea of getting a Void Staff, if they're super tanky. So that's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should just throw them in there, as extra items. I'm probably not going to get them. Who knows? I don't know what I'll be getting, but those seem like potential item choices. But I don't think you really need them until you've already picked up your Trinity Force set. I think it's good to do the balance of damage. So, what does this other build do? It's like just I want to do some physical damage once again. So we are building up a lot of mana. I'm not really sure if that makes a whole lot of sense, but it is cost effective. And of course this heals people, so that's pretty cool. And it's just a way for her to, like, I guess, go AD. In other words, an AD Soraka is just what this is kind of all about. And you're making your allies attack faster too, so yeah, I don't know. This may not be effective, and it's probably, I don't know, but a lot of the times I just feel like I'm really weak at late game, and maybe it's because I'm not building Trinity Forces, maybe it's not because I don't know what the heck the deal is, but I'm going to be trying this new stuff out, and there's some extra items. This is probably trash on her, and this might be too. It's kind of a lot of AD to build. Pretty expensive stuff. But those are my ideas that I came up with recently that I'm hoping will help me out a lot, because I have actually been losing a lot of games with Soraka, just because I haven't been able to do the damage. Like, my ADC just dies like instantly, like no matter how much ability power I have, there's still like however many second cooldown on my heal. I can only heal them so many times, and it only scales so well with my ability power. And of course, I can only stay safe for so long. Eventually they'll catch me, and so on and so forth. I have to be able to fight. So there's just a lot of uncooperative allies, I guess I want to say, in Silver, which is where I'm stuck at now. Look at that. I have like a 40% win rate. It's terrible. But, I'm working on getting better, of course. And, I feel like optimizing item builds would help out with that. But another part of it would probably just be getting other champions to play. Another champion I've been losing a lot with is Varus. Like, if you look at my match history, it's kind of hit and miss. Like, I got like a 12-4 game, and then the opponent surrendered. So obviously my score could have gone higher. I lose game going 4-3, 5. I don't remember what happened, but it obviously didn't work out for us. And then this game, I remember specifically because it was pretty recently that they did surrender, even though like I was farming really well. I had 50 more CS than the enemy Callista, so that was good. Our top laner though had like maybe 40 CS less than their top laner, but I think Varus being 50 CS ahead of the enemy ADC is more important. And of course I had more ADC than their top laner, so that's good too. But yeah, I was doing fine. I think I was either going to get an Infinity Edge or I was going to get into a Mercurial Scepter. Kind of picked this up for like, at first I was thinking I would grab the Zephyr, but then I was like, nah, I need more damage, so, but whatever. Anyways, and then this build I just kind of went a little funky, and there wasn't necessarily any good or bad reason for me to build that way. I ended up selling my boots at the end because I was trying to build a Randuin's, because I realized, you know, actually I do need some armor and HP. But I think as far as the comeback goes, that game was horrible. Like, our team was just trash. Somebody fed Master Yi top lane. I'm not sure what happened up there, but you know, I'm not too concerned about that. The main thing that happened that game was like my lane partner was horrible. She was like feeding and stuff, you know, which is, I guess is typical. But and then also, let's see, what were the other problems? Well, like, our team just wasn't fighting together a lot of the time, and Master Yi, like I said, he had gotten fed, so he kept killing me, and it was terrible. Oh, the Gragas. The Gragas on the enemy team was actually really good as well, not just the Master Yi, because he was protecting the Urgot pretty good, and the Urgot was pretty good too, actually, I suppose, but he is free to play this week, so he might have just been a good ADC player in general, I would imagine. I'm not sure if it's an Urgot main, but the main thing was the Gragas, because he would slow me down so I couldn't finish off the Urgot. And the unfortunate thing is I think we probably would have been able to kill him so many times, but the Morgana just wasn't doing it. She was just pathetic. She couldn't do anything. So it was really frustrating. But it was just a normal game. It wasn't a ranked game, so it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, I mean, I just get used to that. In non-ranked games, they tend to be much lower quality. You might get big stomps, and then you don't. Like, look at this game I had with Shyvana. I won with 15-3-8, right? Actually, I was like 9-0, and then I died once because my allies were just really bad. In fact, that game, we might have lost that game if I wasn't so freaking amazing, because every one of my allies was terrible that game, and I think we almost lost on more than one occasion. But I managed to pull our team through with the victory. But it was pretty messed up, I tell you what. A lot of really bad decisions by their team, and they just weren't working together for the most part. It was pretty bad. But well, anyway, yeah, I mean, that's just typical of non-ranked games. But in ranked, it doesn't get much better. It gets better, but not much. So you gotta be careful. Definitely gotta be careful. All right, so where were we? Yeah, enough talking about ranked and non-ranked and, you know, trials and whatever. Let's go into talking about these champions before we forget about how they work. So tomorrow, I think I'm going to go over Udyr and Urgot, just so we can talk about them while they're still free to play. I've played them both before, but I haven't played them this week. I think I like Udyr better than Olaf, but I think I like Vayne more than Urgot. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with Olaf. In fact, I really like his ultimate. I think it's pretty cool. But okay, let's see what he's all about. So Olaf is a champion that uses mana for casting his first skill. It costs about 60, and his vicious strikes cost like maybe 30 mana or something. Not very much. Okay. His third skill costs like 30 health. or something like that. So not very much, or maybe. Anyway, what ends up happening is he gets healed, or his health cost is refunded if he destroys the target. Now this is interesting because it's dealing true damage to the enemy, so you can kind of think of it as like stealing their life or their health or whatever. But actually, it's quite a lot, and it scales with something or another. I think it scales with your ability power, which is kind of strange because, well, I don't know, whatever. And then his first skill, I think, scales with attack damage, and I believe it does physical damage, and it's a slow. Now this is really good for chasing. So someone's running in a straight line away from you, you just throw it at him, you hit him, and then you pick it up and throw it at him again, over and over again. You just keep chasing, keep picking up your axe, and you throw it at him, you keep picking it up. And that's kind of the ideal way to use the ability. You can use it in other cases too, but that's the main way to use it. Okay, and then, so his basic ability, oh yeah, I probably need to play him a few more times today and tomorrow just so I can get used to it, because I forgot about it, honestly. So he's got like this, it's kind of like Huskar's passive, Berserker's Blood. Of course, in this case it doesn't do anything about magic resistance or attack damage or anything like that. It's just attack speed gets increased. So anyways, and then you can actually, instead of like spamming your W, I guess, maybe, which gets you healed up, you could like allow yourself to get hurt a lot. That way you could attack faster. Could be an interesting strategy to try out. And of course you could potentially build up, health, armor, health, magic resist, whatever. Those kinds of items. Maybe like a spirit visor should be really solid on them, I would imagine. I think I tried to build spirit visor at the time. I don't know if I actually finished building it or not. Anyways, it seems like it'd be pretty good. So anyways, all that stuff, you just attack faster. So of course he scales really good with attack damage, scales well with health, armor, magic resist, you name it. You can build pretty much anything on this guy and get away with it, I think, because he even has mana, so you can build mana items on him too. Although he doesn't really have much of a use for it. The easiest way for him to run out of mana is by spamming his first spell. So, other than that, he pretty much won't run out of mana. Now, what's his ultimate do? This is curious. Okay, it looks like it costs 100 mana, and but the cooldown is pretty long, I want to say. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, but I feel like it could definitely be shorter and he wouldn't be overpowered, but I don't know. The duration's pretty nice, I guess. So I suppose because of his basic ability, which increases attack speed, you probably want to wait until like you're low health before you cast this. And now that I think about it, I wonder if maybe you shouldn't be building lifesteal items on him, because what you really want to do is you want to use your vicious strikes to heal yourself up, on command, instead of healing yourself constantly. Because if you're healing yourself constantly, then you will not be able to benefit very well from Berserker Rage. If you think about it, you're not going to be able to attack very fast. You won't get all that free attack speed. Like if you have 20% health, then you have 80 attack speed basically. That's really good. So, yeah, definitely. Now that I'm examining him, I've come to realize, I've made some mistakes in the way I've played him this week. That's probably why I think he's not quite as good as Udyr. But now that I'm examining him a bit more closely like this, I think that he might actually be better than Udyr. It's just in how you play him. Like, he's a little bit hard to master, kind of like Aatrox or Kha'Zix, I guess. So that's pretty cool. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought he was. Not at all. Anyway, so his ultimate is really cool because, he's immune to disables, so you're not going to be able to stun him or slow him. I'm not really sure if it's really all disables. Like, maybe he can still get locked down by Vi's ultimate, or Malzahar's ultimate, or Warlock's ultimate. I'm not really sure, but I would like to find out about that. And just a little bit of trivia for you guys. There is a Japanese, or maybe it's Chinese, character drawn in here. So you see the circle? Well, the circle is a certain color, and this character is the same color. And this character means power in Japanese, or chikara. I'm not sure exactly how they pronounce it in Chinese, or if it means something slightly different in Chinese or not. But that's what it is. So, yeah, he just gets powerful and just overwhelms any disables. So that's pretty cool. And it actually dispels disables too upon activation, so that's nice. So it's basically like a super cleanse is kind of what it is, and that's really nice. I think it lasts something like 10 seconds, so it's pretty cool. So he's a relatively simple champion, but not necessarily easy to master. So he's very similar to Aatrox in that regard, I want to say, so I'm definitely going to try him out a little bit more and try to get better with him this week. And then I'll play these two guys a bit more too. So now Vayne. What's up with her? She's a pretty cool champion for sure. She's got a relatively simple build once again, kind of like Olaf. Not really that complicated. But in its simplicity, you know, it basically there's room for getting better with her once again, like with Aatrox and Olaf. Only in this case, I think it might be more. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I think the way to master them is different, you know, between mastering Vayne and like those two guys. With her, I think a lot of it has to do with observing how the opponents play, and this is just a theory of mine. Like, I don't know for sure. It's mainly her third skill I'm having trouble mastering. So her third skill is a push. It pushes the enemy backwards. So let's check this out real quick.
Beware.
So it actually only shows one version of it. What I end up doing to it is the other version. What they showed was the target getting hit into a wall and then it gets stunned. But if they don't hit a wall, then they just go backwards and that's it. So either way, they do take some damage. I believe it's some physical damage. Now her silver bolts are true damage, and I don't think it scales with anything other than the target's health. Of course, it scales with attack speed because it's like every third attack it happens. So and then it combos with the abilities too. So if you like condemn instead, then yeah, there's that. I could assume it works with items, but I wouldn't really be sure. Yeah, it's hard to say. It doesn't seem like anything else actually hits enemy units, so I guess it's just condemn and physical attacks. Anyway, now see her final hour and her tumble are actually utility skills. So kind of like condemn, only they don't do any damage. Well, tumble technically it adds damage, and so does final hour, but they're still technically utility. So what do we mean by that? Okay, with tumble, she basically kind of jumps forward. It's actually more of a roll, but or maybe like a combination of a jump and a roll. I'm not sure. It's a tumble. It seems like it would make more sense if she's doing it downhill. Like, you can't really tumble uphill, can you? So I don't know how much this really makes sense. But I guess for the most part, the terrain's probably relatively flat on the Summoner's Rift, so whatever. Anyways, so yeah, she basically moves forward. It's basically jump, dash, whatever you want to call it. And then she does like 50% extra damage is kind of how it works. I think the damage may scale with level, but anyways, the more attack damage you have, obviously, the more damage it does. Now, this is a really short cooldown, so you can kind of think of it as pretty similar to Shaco's jump or Ezreal's jump, only. Like hers has an even shorter cooldown than either one of those, as far as I know. So that's pretty cool. She can't really jump as far though, so there's that. Now, some would say, well, what about invisibility or something? Well, she can go invisible when she tumbles if she activates her ultimate. So her ultimate will give her a temporary increase to her attack damage, and then of course she goes invisible when she jumps. So that's pretty cool. Um, and then she gets extra bonus movement speed from her basic. What is her basic? We didn't go over that. We skipped over it. So her basic is 30 movement speed when moving towards enemy champions. And I doubt that's global, actually. I think when I first played her, I assumed it was, but I don't think it is. But either way, you can confirm if it's active or not by just like turning, towards your fountain or whatever, some direction where you assume that no enemies are in that direction. Then your movement speed should drop immediately as soon as you turn around, and then you turn back towards where there should be enemies. Then it'll activate again. So you could use that functionality to test out how long the range is if you're really curious about it. But anyways, yeah, she's a pretty cool champion because once she gets rolling, it's hard to get away from her. Kind of reminds me of Jinx's basic ability because every time she gets a kill, then she gets a huge boost in movement speed. In her case, it's a little bit different because she doesn't really care if there's a kill or not. If people are running scared, then she can still just chase after them and stuff. So it's pretty nice. And then of course the ultimate, it becomes 90 movement speed basically while that's active. So that's pretty nice. And there isn't much else to say. She's basically a physical damage champion with a bit of true damage, so she's pretty powerful in that regard. I want to say, kind of like Aurelia, I guess, because Aurelia's got some true damage up her sleeve, so that's pretty helpful for her. And those are the two champions that I wanted to go over today. So this is actually probably kind of long, but I haven't done one of these for a little while. I don't think there's really anything else for me to say, other than I'll be playing a bit more of some of these champs and trying to get better with them. So like these three right here, I know they're free to play, and so is this one, but I don't really like any of them. So if I haven't talked about them already, I might later. I'm not really sure, but we'll see. Alright.